Hello, everyone. I am anxious about what's going on, and even though it's early, fuck it. I'm just gonna start. Oh, God. So much has happened in the past week. I'm just gonna be honest, it's overwhelming. It's really overwhelming. I'm, re- I'm mentally exhausted just trying to keep up what's going on in Palestine. This just hearing about dead children is emotionally draining. Just hearing about children just being murdered. The racism and fascist apologelia, it's just off the charts. So many people have been mask off racists and mask off fascists. I'm not shocked, but when you see so much, when you see so much stuff that's been going on, the mainstream media just completely be complacent to one of the worst humanitarian crisis right now. The propaganda of the mainstream media, it's disgusting. What's really disgusting is people just cannot see. This is Iraq all over again. The media got people to support genocide in Iraq, in Afghanistan. Millions of people dead, mostly children, non-combatants that didn't do anything wrong. And the same thing's going on in Palestine. People defending Israel doing literal genocide. How can anyone defend that? There's so many fucking lies, so much bullshit. It's like the full story is not being talked about. Like the slogan that's everyone who watches, who's heard it many times, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Liars. I just saw something from like Miami where these reporters were framing the Palestinian protesters basically supporting terrorism when no, they were showing solidarity to Palestine. And you had these fucking fascist pieces of shit. Then again, it's Miami. What do you expect? It's a hub of fucking fascists where all the fucking fascists of Latin America go. Lying about from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free is genocide against the Israelis. Like, what the fuck? Who are you fucking kidding me? This whole fucking shit it proves Malcolm X correct. It's been almost 60 years since he said this. That if you're not careful, the press will make you love the oppressor and hate the oppressed, and make the oppressed the oppressed the aggressor and the oppressor the victim. And the classic gaslighting that I've just been seeing about people who support Palestine. Can we all agree that killing civilians is wrong? Why is it that's only brought up when people talk about Palestine, but never Israel? It's like, yeah, Hamas did do an act of terrorism. There's no denying that. But 60, there's like over sorry, not 60. I'm sorry. I'm scatterbrained right now. Being exposed to so much bullshit only could do so much. It's not okay, yeah, they did kill it. They did kill civilians, but 75 years of occupation, 75 years of being basically in a cage, 75 years of being treated like a subhuman, treated like worse than an animal. Of course they're going to snap. Of course they're going to snap. Of course they're going to snap. There's like, it's inevitable. I gave you a link. Just look at your Skype. It's like, this is not a complicated issue. It's not a complicated issue. It's an issue of colonialism. It's an issue of genocide. Anybody else want to talk about this, you're welcome to come on. Honestly, because this is an important issue to talk about. The massive censorship we were seeing from anti-Zionist voices, the mass censorship we're getting from people that actually oppose what's going on. Nobody will even listen to the Israelis that are actually against what's going on, that actually talk about end the occupation. Yeah, I make it well known. I don't particularly have that much sympathy for Israelis as a whole, but the actual good Israelis, the based ones, why are they anti-Semitic for wanting to end the occupation? It's like, I almost want to cry just being exposed to all this.
How's it going, everyone?
It's not funny. It's just, originally I was going to do a video about Star Wars, but I can't in good conscience do that knowing what's going on in Gaza. I can't.
Yeah, there's been a lot of crap going on this week with there's been a lot of crap going on this week with the whole Israel and Palestine stuff, and just a lot of people that have been showing their real true colors. I you know, from what I've been observing, because I've been trying to kind of avoid being on social media as much as I can, but at the same time, I'm also kind of find myself keep getting drawn into arguments with people, because the same people, particularly a lot of liberals and conservatives, they, people that want to talk about like the land back for Native Americans, but then are, simping for Zionism. Like, do you not, it's like these people, they either do not understand or they just don't give a damn that it's basically the same thing. This is Palestinians' native land, and we should be supporting them in their fight. But all people can think of, Hamas, terrorism, just it's stupid.
Yeah, but what about the terrorism that Israel commits against
exactly
neighbors, like Syria, Lebanon?
The terrorism that they're basically committing against their neighbors for 75 fucking years, and these people, they just don't, they don't understand it, or they just don't care enough to understand it.
Israel doesn't give a damn about its own citizens.
Yeah. One of the things that I absolutely love too is the people that try to make the argument of, look at what the Palestinians would do to you if you lived over there. I'm like, the Palestinians are actually, relatively more like, yeah, there is still a level of uncomfortability and even some homophobia, yes, but you're going to get that no matter where you go. And they are actually relatively more accepting than Israel is. Israel, people think that Israel is like this bastion in the Middle East for some reason of LGBT acceptance. No, it's not. That they'll, you'll essentially get fucking killed over there for being, I got like, can you like anybody that's essentially a Zionist who literally believes that I would be able to walk down the streets of Tel Aviv or Jerusalem without, getting the absolute shit kicked out of me. Like they're playing, they're playing themselves. Like I could not, live in Israel. I could not visit Israel, being trans, but I could definitely, still walk around, Ramallah. I could, at least, feel safer there.
Okay, I'm gonna address this bullshit. We're not okay with land theft no matter who fucking does it. Don't pull that bullshit with me. Whether it's Israel, America, the Europeans, fuck them all. I don't care who does it.
Exactly. And talking about stealing land from Mexican people and black people, like this is kind of making me think of that whole, what is it, that Atslan
okay
crap. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not dealing with this shit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, no, I'm not confused about my gender. I was born, born in the wrong gender, and I am, and
let's not address this fucking fascist. Fuck
yeah.
I'm not derailing the conversation.
That's fair. But yeah, no, what I was gonna say is that, yeah, no, I can't walk down the street, any street in Tel Aviv or Jerusalem without essentially getting the shit kicked out of me, or even, killed, or assaulted in some way. But yeah, I could at least walk through, Ramallah. I know that, any part of the West Bank would be, more accepting. I understand that, yes, in some regards that, with Hamas being, largely in Gaza, that, yeah, that they'll probably have a little bit more of a conservative view for it. But the difference is that they're honestly not going to give a damn, because they've got way bigger fish to fry, because they've got essentially this boogeyman that keeps breathing down their neck at all times, and they have been for 75 years. So, people that want to bring up the whole fucking argument of, oh, well, you're gay, you're trans, they'll just, they'd just fucking kill you in Palestine. No, they wouldn't. Quite the opposite. It's the apartheid state, the fascist state of Israel, that would fucking kill me.
Have we forgotten that half the people in Palestine, or at least in Gaza, are fucking children?
Right. And there's, like, isn't it like 50% or something like that, because essentially all the older population has been essentially genocided. Not even essentially, they've been genocided.
There was entire families that have been wiped out of existence for the past fucking week. Thousands of years of family history gone in a blink of an eye.
Yeah. And people, have the audacity to, be, to cry about, a few Israelis that are dying. It's like, I don't remember who it was. I want to say it was some comment I left in Clara Sorrenti's, Keffels's fucking comments or whatever it was, because for some reason she made some video about, where at the end she was giving crocodile tears and supporting the supporting the Palestinians, but this only came after like a week of her, essentially trying to play both sides of the fence. And yeah, it was just one of those things where, it's just like, okay, it's like people want to cry about the fucking Israelis that are dying. But as I was saying in her comments, war is war. It's going to mean death. And, I'm not going to cry over a few Israelis dying, just, when, considering that their entire fucking, system is predicated on ethnic cleansing. Like,
well, let's not even forget how Jewish people that in France are, how they were treated by the police. They were treated like far harsher than the pro-Zionist protesters. None of them were fucking Jewish.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how bad things were in Germany. Like, isn't it ironic, the country where the largest genocide in human history happened? Well, besides America, like, is doing the same thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes those that oppress people learn the best from when they were oppressed, and that's exactly what kind of happened with the state of Israel. They learned way too well from the people that oppressed their grandparents, great grandparents. So they took that, combined that with South African apartheid, and there you go. Then you have the current state of Israel.
I don't even think they give a damn about even their Holocaust survivors. Many of them don't support this.
Yeah, well, they don't. I mean, look at the opposition that they have. Any opposition that they have that is even somewhat sympathetic towards the Palestinian cause are basically treated as essentially as traitors to the state. So
it's like Israel. I do think it's in its end days, because no state that acts the way Israel does, it's going to last. I mean, when it treats its own citizens as disposable. I mean, prisoners of war are not even valued in Israel. They'll just kill them. They don't care.
Yeah,
they don't even pretend to give a shit. Like, it's mask off.
Yeah. It's just, yeah, I don't, yeah, I just kind of have had this feeling for a while that, everything that's just going down in the state of Israel, it's pretty much that of a country that is better. Oh, hi. But yeah, basically, yeah, the state of Israel is at a point of desperation. They know, and the fact that, and they also know too, there's a lot of young people that they're trying to recruit into the IDF that aren't, that don't want to be, essentially put into the meat grinder. And so yeah, they're trying to run like these sexualized ads of women being like, hey, join the IDF and you'll you can be part of a military that's got these beautiful women in our ranks. And they're essentially, yeah, so you're basically sexually sexualizing and exploiting women who I don't even know if they're actual soldiers within the IDF, but you're essentially doing that to try to sell your propaganda campaign and trying to encourage more recruitment into the IDF. Not that they really have to, because I believe that the IDF has conscription anyway, so I don't really see the point. But it's just that they've reached a point of desperation when this is what they have to resort to.
Well, it's just public opinion. Israel has lost the PR war a lot, a few years ago, and what they're doing now is just only making things worse for themselves. Israel and its supporters are completely isolated. They live in a completely different reality, because I'm actually shocked how much solidarity there is towards the Palestinians, despite what the mainstream media wants to tell you.
Yeah.
It's 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 like it's like Gaza. I just can't get over the fact that people are justifying mass murder of children. How can people live with themselves?
Well, that's the thing. A lot of these people can live with themselves because it's at the end of the day, a lot of the people calling the shots are a bunch of fascists that don't actually give a damn about anybody else. They don't even they don't even really give a damn about their own fucking citizens. So because essentially they've made it's kind of really is a lot like how it was during during the days of World War II in Germany, where it's just like they've kind of pandered this propaganda that it's like whether you're a soldier or a civilian, it's like to die for your country is like a great honor. It's like and stuff like that. Like it's the same shit that it's the same shit that they're pandering. And so essentially they're willing to just throw their people to the meat grinder, you know, for some crazy ultra nationalistic ideology.
What really disappoints me is the new black media completely ignoring what's going on in Palestine, despite the fact that this would be a great opportunity for them to teach their audience how the IDF helps the police in America.
Yeah,
with the same tactics, and I just feel like I know I have white privilege, and I probably shouldn't be saying this, but I feel like I have to. I see this as I don't see the new black media any different from the old. It's pure opportunism, and I just see them as controlled opposition. I mean, one of the most important issues of our time, Palestine, it affects black people in America. I mean, Malcolm X and Huey P. Newton, along with the original Panthers, supported Palestine, yet they will talk about the history of these individuals, but you're gonna ignore what's going on in Israel.
Yeah,
it's like I'm pretty sure I'm sure a black communist could talk about this way better than we can, but I had to throw it out there because I'm really disappointed with the new black media, how they're ignoring even the president of South Africa is actually talked about what's going on in Palestine. Yeah, they talk about stuff in Africa too. It's like you're ignoring it deliberately. And to me, the point I'm trying to make is ignoring what's going on in Palestine is complacency and support for genocide.
So Christopher Barker was asking, yeah, I heard that Palestine education teaches kids the value of terrorism. Thoughts on this?
It sounds like they're self-projecting because I hear that that's what Israelis do over there.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, I think it. I mean, what I was just saying a minute ago. The whole thing about Israel, essentially preaching to their people that to die for their country is like a great honor, and especially when they're using the same rhetoric that the Nazis used towards the Jewish people when they were trying to say that hey, it's we got to do something about these these filthy animals is what literally what was it, the Jewish president, I believe it was, called the Palestinian people. He literally called them animals, and it's like that's the same rhetoric that was used.
Those people.
Yeah, that is usually that is the same fucking rhetoric that Hitler used about and the Nazis used against the Jews. Same shit.
What's interesting is Benjamin Netanyahu did literal Nazi apologelia when he was talking about Hitler didn't want to kill the Jews.
Yeah,
I've heard Nazi apologists say that, and I'm just come to thinking, how much do you bet that a good chunk of the people of Israel are literal Nazi followers because they sound and talk like Nazis.
Yeah. But
they'll say, "Oh, we're protecting the Jewish people." It's like, then why do you attack the Jewish people? Why don't you listen to the Jewish people that don't support your actions? It's like almost as if it's just a bull-faced lie.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, well, let's even go back to the whole thing about about the media and stuff like that, because we were talking about how the black media is the new black media is essentially like has been silent on this. It's not even just silence, it's also just outright censorship. Look at what the Western media is doing about the whole situation right now. Jason Unruh just put out a video this morning about how 3 MSNBC anchors were banned for their pro-Palestinian viewpoints. One of them apparently being Ali Velshi, which honestly doesn't surprise me, but also kind of did in a way, because I understand, obviously he would support Palestine, but he just struck me as the type of person that would just kind of still just tote the line and just stay silent on the matter. But no, he apparently must have said something. So but yeah, they've actually been essentially booting anybody that has a pro-Palestinian stance, and that's how the media is controlling the narrative by essentially censoring the opposition.
And those who protest consolidate Palestine. They have to protect their identities, because Zionists will do everything to ruin people's lives. This is a form of McCarthyism.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you an example. I'll give everybody an example here. So for my work, I work security, but I like to prefer to call it a glorified receptionist, because that's basically what I'm there for, is to send emails and bullshit and answer phone calls. But we basically sign in on a cell phone now, and they're through a certain program, and that brings up these weird, stupid questions that we've got to answer, every single time that we log in. One of those was about the protests that were happening in Portland on Friday the 13th. And those protests were a pro-Palestinian protest that was a counter against a Zionist protest that had happened, I think, the day or so before. And they the way that my company literally worded it was about was essentially how to handle terrorism, and they were referring to the fact that there was going to be a protest the next day that was pro-Palestinian, and they were basically labeling the whole question, raising the whole question as if it was a pro-terrorism protest.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
The more they actually try to make this illegal, the more people are going to resist.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't stop the people for protesting against South Africa. It's not going to stop the people from protesting against Israel. It's not just. They know they've lost. It's like with what's going on right now with Ukraine and Israel's not in a very good position at the moment. There's a good chance I'm trying to be the best case scenario for Israel would be to back down, because this could literally get into a hot war in the Middle East with multiple countries, and Israel is just not ready. They cannot take on Syria, Iran, and Lebanon. The United States can't do it either. I mean, with what's going on with Ukraine. Ukraine's fucked. too in this situation. So that's why I'm saying, I don't know.
Well, yeah, considering the fact, I mean, little sidebar while we're on that is the fact that right now the EU is debating on whether or not they should continue to, supply money, money and arms to Ukraine. The United States Congress right now is pretty pretty evenly divided on whether to keep supporting Ukraine. Of course, granted, the Republican Party is largely more pro-Russian. So, but regardless, the United States is probably going to, probably at best, probably the most realistic situation is they'll probably still keep funding, supporting Ukraine in some fashion, but it'll be much smaller than what it was at the beginning of the conflict, because quite frankly, the U.S. is a dying empire, and it's essentially, I wouldn't it's still technically, in my opinion, still considered a superpower as far as the geopolitics goes, but it won't be that way for long. It will probably at best remain a great power, maybe even maybe at worst a regional power. It's not, but it stays as being the global superpower is vastly disappearing. That's actually why I stated in my stream the other day about how they were essentially the new Rome, as it will, is going to end up falling to China. So because China's already been kind of a growing power in the world for the last 20 or so years, 30 years.
Well, the thing about Israel, they're not willing. They're not. I can tell from experience with debating Zionists. They live in. They're so delusional. They actually think Israel's going to last. Is going to be here forever, and it's not. Because what's going to happen when their biggest partners, America and the UK, throw Israel under the bus? Because they'll be dealing with too many problems of their own.
Yeah.
It's like, what is Israel going to do? Israel would collapse, because it needs the aid.
Yeah. And, and I think there are a lot of people that are going to, that are going to end up, boycotting, investing, sanctioning. Well, maybe not so much the sanctioning part, but there's going to be a lot of people boycotting Israel over a lot of this. And frankly, they should have been doing this the entire time. And just because another conflict pops up doesn't mean that you shouldn't stop supporting the Palestinians and stop, boycotting Israel, because through that they take aim at their economy. And essentially, without the money and funds to wage a war against, Palestinians and continue their vengeful genocide, against these people, it's just, it's just, yeah. You take away their funding, and then you essentially take away their ability to, wage this war against ethnic minorities. So, and that's what's kind of important.
Hey.
Hello. He also goes, we should all support Palestine, always support Palestine. Yeah, exactly.
It shouldn't be a controversial statement to say I support Palestine, but it is. And this, I know a place that I normally go to regularly, there was this woman who I'm actually was shocked she was openly pro-Palestine. She had someone told me I shouldn't be pro-Palestine in public, and I said I don't give a damn. Fuck Israel.
Yeah, exactly. Because yeah, because it's just one of those things where it's like the reason why people are so, it's because, as I think somebody pointed this out earlier in the comments, that it's because people are, their brain in the Western world, people are brainwashed, and these and so they've basically, and essentially one of those pieces to it is the fact that they've been taught that essentially you support Israel because you've got to support Jewishness, you've got to support the Jewish people. They went through this horrible atrocity in World War II, and because of that, people essentially equate to being anti-Zionist with being anti-Semitic, and it's almost this on the same level of idiocy of trying to explain this to people as it is trying to explain to them that Nazism is not the same, it is not socialism. Just because it says National Socialism does not mean that it was socialist. And so, trying to have that conversation on the same level, telling them that no, being anti-Zionist is being anti-fascist. Being anti-Semitic is being a fascist. That is being against that's being against people because of their religion. Being anti-Zionist is being against a ethnic and religious nationalist ideology.
Equating Zionism with Judaism is in itself anti-Semitic.
Yeah. The progressive media on YouTube are whining about the possibility of a wider war. What about the Palestinians? They had nothing to do with the Holocaust. Yeah.
I'm just going to say this. Progressive literally means fucking nothing.
Yeah.
All these so-called progressives are as fascist as the Republicans they criticize.
Yeah, it's like I've said before. It's like so, because I would describe progressives as being social fascists, because and just because you are on the moderate swing of the fascist spectrum doesn't make one any less a fascist. It's kind of like that age-old adage: if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, it's a fucking duck. And that's exactly what it comes down to. It doesn't matter if you want to call them progressive or if you want to call them a conservative or anything like that. It's like, it doesn't matter. They're all the same. Whether they're liberal or conservative, they're all the same. They're a fucking fascist through and through.
I would rather deal with a conservative because at least they're honest where they stand.
I've actually said the same thing. It's like I've actually made the mention about how a conservative will actually be very, at least is open with their racism, very open with their fascism. Take the American, for example. They're not hiding it anymore. They're very vocal, very proud of their viewpoints. Whereas, a lot of these, centrists, if you want to call them that, a bunch of these fucking, mainstream Democrats like Joe Biden, the perfect example. It's one of those things where it's like they're very quiet about their racism and their homophobia and their transphobia. But every once in a while, it still slips out. And,
Joe Biden, I've recalled him saying this. I don't know how many years ago he said this. If there wasn't an Israel, we would make it Israel.
Yeah. And, so, yeah.
All these people say the same thing. Israel has a right to defend itself. Israel has a right to defend itself. Defend itself from what? Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like Israel launched a few rockets, kills a few hundred people, and Israel has already killed thousands.
Yeah. Well, way more than that when you really go all the way back to the beginning of when look, I mean, because let's put this into perspective. This isn't just the current conflict. We would have to kind of look at it at overarching from when it began with the mandate in 1947 that created the state of Israel in the first place. And since then, there has been a continuous conflict with just kind of years of calm, a very tense calm, but a calm nonetheless in between. Overall, this is the same conflict that has been going on since the very beginning. And so it's not just the thousands that, that they've killed just in this conflict. It's the tens and hundreds of thousands, probably millions at this point that have, since the end of World War II. Like Israel has essentially let's put the whole sense of what's going on, with what Israel is doing to the Palestinians on a bigger aspect. This type of crap was just going on instead of over the past 75 years. They were committing this within the span of 3 years or 7 years. Like what was going on in Rwanda in the mid-90s. If Israel was doing that same thing to the Palestinians in a shorter amount of time, people would be screaming about it being genocide. But because they've essentially been doing this, slowly over a long period of time, people just kind of turn a blind eye and say, oh, no, that's not really happening. And, we've kind of learned from history that ignoring genocide doesn't exactly look good to future historians.
Well, future historians will look at America as one of the most evil empires to have ever existed.
Yeah.
And Israel and those who supported Israel, they'll be looked at as no different from the Nazis in the 1920s and 40s. It's like there's little difference. I mean, those who support Israel, I know I've said this multiple times, would have supported the Nazis, because there's the rhetoric of the average Israeli to your average Nazi supporter in Germany is no different. It's identical, their rhetoric. And look at the people that support Israel. If you want to know like someone's political affiliations, just look at every leader in the world that supports Israel.
Yeah. Our concern should be the third for the third and fourth worlds. That includes Palestine. Israel is a first world colonialist power. He also mentions Israel is a part of the American empire. I would kind of view Israel as essentially being. I'm going to use a really pissy example, but I'm going to use essentially the world of Man in the High Castle as an example. The Greater American Reich compared to the Greater German Reich. That's basically what Israel is to the United States, where America is the Greater German Reich and Israel is essentially, the German North America. That is what it comes down to. And because Israel is still technically maintains its autonomy, but it's still very much still, a puppet of the United States. The only difference is that it is a puppet state that has been set up with, with its own cultural identity, its own, religious and ethnic nationalism. That's the big difference here, where, but nonetheless, it is. I wouldn't say it is definitely a colonialist power in the sense that it is an extension of a bigger colonialist power.
Well, Israel do want to be their own empire. They want control of the entire Middle East.
Yeah, they want to basically be like, the successor to, like, essentially Rome and the Byzantines. They want to be the new Ottomans, the new Persians of the region. They want to control that entire region because the whole this is my sacred holy land, and it's like, no. Like certain parts of it, yes, but not all of it.
Israel, they're so deluded if they actually think Greater Israel will ever be a thing. They're so deluded.
I know.
Israel would collapse in a matter of hours if funding was cut.
Oh yeah.
Like, they're so delusional, they cannot see that America is what keeps them afloat.
Yeah.
I mean, they actually look down on Americans, believe it or not, Israelis. I'm not joking. They do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they look down on a lot of different, a lot of different people. But yeah, they look down on Americans. They look down. I mean, honestly, I would make the argument that they look down on the Western world, as a whole, because because they're not, because while they may be essentially backed by Western powers, they're not what you would call necessarily a Western country. And it's one of those things where, yeah, there's a lot of aspects about Western society and culture, whether it's fully accepted or not, like the whole gay and trans thing, that that essentially a lot of people in Israel, or at least those in charge, believe to be, quote unquote, degeneracy. And that's why, people that try to make that argument that, oh, Palestine, well, Palestinians would just kill you if you were to go over there. No, it's quite the opposite. I would be killed trying to walk down the streets of Jerusalem or the streets of Tel Aviv. If I, walking down the streets of Ramallah, I would be, it's like, yeah, people might give me funny looks, but they're not going to really do anything to me because they've got bigger concerns to worry about than,
That's just race Orientalism.
Yeah.
Oh, look, these people are brutes and they would kill. It's like, what's ironic though about Israel's, it would not exist without Western culture. A lot of its culture is based off the West.
Yeah.
It has nothing in common with the countries in the Middle East in terms of its culture. It's just America, but in a desert. That's what Israel fucking is.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
like,
I was gonna say, if America, Sub Monkey's comment about if America and the UK collapse, then so would Israel. Like, yeah, that it's just like without their main supply. I mean, it's kind of like what ended up happening to North Korea after the fall of the Soviets. They went through a really, a really, well, I'm going to go ahead and use that term. They went through an arduous period because, their biggest supplier, their biggest, help was gone. And that would be in the same sense what would happen, if to Israel, if their main backers being the US and UK ended up collapsing. Like, yeah, to some degree Europe would probably step in to help some, but not to the extent that the US and UK have. So it would cripple the country, as you put it, in a matter of hours.
I actually don't think Israelis are as resilient as Koreans are.
No, they're not. And that's actually another good point, is the fact that at least with the North Koreans, they, I hate to use this term, but they pulled themselves up by their bootstraps, so to speak, and they realized that, hey, we need to rally around each other, and actually, in order for us to survive, we have to, if we truly believe in the ideal of being a self-reliant, country, we have to pull together. The minute that Israel were to collapse, there would be so much infighting amongst various political factions and, between Christian Israelis and Jewish Israelis. And, there would be so much tension that would end up breaking out.
And the Palestinians in Egypt and Jordan would take advantage of those divisions.
Yeah, which honestly, at that point, they have every right to be. It'd be, to take back, their ancestral land.
It's like, okay. The thing, what happened with Hamas, though, with the attack on the music festival, completely shattered Israeli society. I don't think they'll recover from this.
Yeah.
They've been raised to think that they're invincible. They're the chosen people. They for so long, they've been spoiled like a spoiled child, and they don't know how to react.
Yeah. Captain DPRK, tighten our belts versus pull up by our bootstraps. Yeah. To quote a line from Godzilla 2014, let them fight. Yeah, let them fight. Let them fucking, let them tear each other apart so that, the Palestinians can come in there and, just, scooch them aside and be just kind of like, hey, y'all can bicker somewhere else, but this is our home and you've stolen it, so we're taking it back.
You can speak, Stan. I just muted you because it was actually hurting my ears.
Yeah, because of the typing.
Yeah, it was really hurting my ears.
Oh, it was the typing. Oh,
yeah.
Because I turned it down when I wasn't talking, but I had turned it back up. Maybe I don't remember.
Right, it's fine.
Okay, yeah, but this Israel-Palestine thing has been pissing me the hell off all week long. I was playing punk rock music the other day, just blaring it. It's just expressing my anger because, they played like that security company you said you work for. Mine did the same thing and said, heightened terrorist alerts because of what happened in Israel. And it's like, I was calling bullshit because I'm saying that's like saying, North Korea defending itself. Now that's why they're terrorists.
Isn't it funny how people will support the rebellion in Star Wars, but they will not support the actual rebellion in the real world?
Yeah.
Well, they live in dream world. I think their dream world is more real than the real world.
I mean, you don't have to look any farther than, the people that still think that, Trump, won the 2020 election and that, it was all a conspiracy by, the liberal left to,
That party is too far gone. They think anything. They want to believe fairy tales. Let them believe their stupid fairy tales. Who's going to take them seriously when they think space lasers burned up Hawaii?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's a good chunk of the population that do take them seriously, and that's what's scary.
I wonder if they're. I just have to wonder if they're bringing about the judgment against America for America's misdeeds around the world. I mean, something might be just being some form of bad karma for America, even if it means it's coming from America. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, in other words, America is imploding in on itself. Maybe it's just, I don't know. Sometimes you hear when, like, I don't know what was it about the monsters that were attacking everything, and then once they ran out of resource, they started eating themselves or something. Or is that some concept? I think I can't remember what movie that was, but or something like that. It's like they can't, they run out of resources, so what else to do is just implode on themselves. That sounds like something that's might be happening in this country. It's like
isn't it interesting how Nazi
What's that?
thing happens and this happens not too far from each other.
Yeah.
It's it feels like too much of a coincidence. I don't know, but a Nazi and I forgot the word. What's wrong? I know what I'm trying to say. I don't know. I forgot how to pronounce it. Sorry, help me.
What are you trying to say?
It's
Wait, not Nazis, but
no, it's that thing that they do. They like have a session, like it's political term. It starts with
projection. Did you say projection?
I forgot. I'm sorry, but
No.
it should come back to me. But it's interesting how all this stuff is happening, and I just wondered is how what is Zelensky thinking right now, knowing what's going on in Israel? Is he nervous that he's going to be kind of fucked by the U.S. government because they're not because they've been funding Palestine, Ukraine more than Israel last year. And they're running out of ammunition. I heard they're running out of supplies and ammunition. It's like not very good.
Was this Israel you said?
No, Ukraine.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. But yeah, it's just
Yeah, I wish
Yeah.
Israel was shit too.
But yeah, it's just trying to it's like trying to have any sort of conversation with like, with people and stuff like that about Israel and Palestine. Like, as we said earlier, it really shouldn't be like a controversial subject. People, it's like, if you truly believe in land back, then it's like you should be supporting the Palestinians. But so many people, are just kind of like, so many people are just kind of like, well, no, it's the Israelis' land. Since when? It's like they, as somebody was pointing out in the comments, it's like they lost their chosen people status. Almost essentially 2 millennia ago. It's one of those things. So it's one of those things where it's like it's not your land. It's always historically been Palestinian. So.
All right. Oh shit. Okay. Oh. Sorry, I was trying to adjust your audio, Stan, because it's having issues. That's what
Don't worry, I was muting it because I was going to type anyway, so I hit you muted just before I typed.
Well, you can just type. I want you to be part of the conversation. I don't want.
Then I was going to unmute, but I wanted to type something, so I was muting it so I could type it. But
okay.
Somebody asked a question, so I muted or was going to mute, but you muted before I muted, so I could type a question. Then I unmuted. Or noticed it was unmuted, so I said, "I hope the typing doesn't bother you."
All right. So when you're not speaking, just if it's okay, just put yourself on mute when you're not speaking.
Yeah, I was getting ready to do that when you just said muted just a second ago, and then I typed an answer to Christopher about something he asked, and then I unmuted. Well, then I got unmuted again. So
yeah.
You unmuted. So yeah, I will mute when I'm going to type.
I'm having technical issues. It wouldn't be a Darth Soviet strand.
Well, I'm not typing now, so I don't know if there's any racket. It could just be the amp. I don't have anything on right now.
It wasn't as bad as last stream where me and Maxwell, we had like multiple times where we were kicked off our own stream.
Jesus.
Maybe it's the Zionists trying to censor me.
I was going to say that. I think was that the one that was a half hour? No, I watched the one. Yeah, you only had a half hour long. That last one you did about Israel, it was a half hour long. I watched it.
Actually, that was the half an hour one was Star Wars. The hour one was about Palestine.
Okay. Well, because those Star Wars ones, I don't watch those all the way through sometimes because I don't. Well, no offense. It's just maybe I'm not getting as interested as those, so I might. But the one you did, I think it was one of them was 38 minutes long. I sat there and listened with you guys, and I think it was you and I don't know who it was with. I'd have to look at
Maxwell Glover, I think you're referring to.
Chris Barker just posted this. Thoughts on my friend being called an idiot for saying Israel is the Nazi Germany.
Well, call him delusional.
Yeah, the fact that it's like why was your people are calling your friend the idiot for that? It's like no, it's like Israel is the modern day Nazi Germany. That's like I said earlier, Zionism takes the ideals of Nazism and apartheid South Africa and essentially combines them with ethno and religious nationalism, and so yeah, it is the modern day. It is the Nazi Germany of the modern era. So yeah, people that are calling your friend an idiot for saying that, it's like all those people are doing is essentially they're just further legitimizing the Zionist state.
Okay, here it is. It's called "The Palestinians Have a Right to Rebel." Not 38, 56, 12. I watched this one while you two were. It was you and Red Pagan.
Well, the one, they have a right to rebel. I actually did that solo. This one. It's a collaboration.
Okay, I see his name on here, but it's a post. Yeah, I remember that, and I just saw the icon on front with the comment you were highlighting. Okay, yeah, I remember that because I remember we were all talking in the chat while you were streaming. There was we were all chatting in the chat while you were streaming, but you would highlight some of our stuff.
You want to one thing I am dreading in a few years when Marvel does its Captain America 4, because the reason why this is prevalent because one of its characters introducing is Iron Dome, or at least is it Iron Dome? What the hell that person's name is? I forgot her name. She's an Israeli superhero, and her original outfit was a Zionist flag, and she's named after I think a famous massacre that happened. I forgot. I don't even know who she is. I don't even care. I do know we're going to be hearing a huge backlash towards that movie from the Arab community when it comes out. It's the reason I bring this as prevalent because it is propaganda and it really pushes it's how people are brainwashed not to support the oppressed.
Yeah.
I can't help but go back to Black Panther, both films, where the oppressed are usually the villains, like Killmonger, who lived in poverty. He's somehow the villain. One guy, from the sequel, he was a survivor of this Spaniard genocide on indigenous people in South America. It's what?
Oh, I was just gonna, I was gonna segue into Mark's comment there. That they never learned any lessons from Nazi Germany, so it's just repeating the same genocidal actions.
Well, they have learned lessons from Nazi Germany.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what Mark's trying to say is that essentially history is just repeating itself. It's just ironic that it's the very people that were oppressed by the Germans who are now doing the oppressing against Palestinians. And Christopher and Mark both have kind of a point where there's just this kind of whole thing about both sidism essentially going on. Going on with a lot of people, specifically with a lot of freaking liberals, but yeah, it's just Christopher was basically saying, yeah, there's the two people that were calling his friend an idiot also think that there's wrong on both sides, and see that if we basically take from Mao's combat liberalism, that is the very textbook definition of the liberal position, is to basically just sit by and say, it's like, yeah, well, Israel's done a lot of horrible shit, but, the Palestinians don't, doing, killing back, that's, two wrongs don't make a right. No, that is the very thing. They do have a right to two rights, here do actually make, or two wrongs actually do make a right, because Israel has been oppressing these people for.
You gotta be fucking kidding me.
Did you end up creating a? That's funny.
What the fuck happened? Oh god, you gotta be kidding me. Okay. Oh fuck. What the? This is the second fucking time it's happened. God. Oh.
But yeah, I was just gonna say is that, yeah, no, these people do have a right to push back against their oppressors, because they, it's like, so in this case, yeah, no, two wrongs do actually make a right. It's like, that's why when people start crying over dead Israelis, it's like, yeah, okay, but when you consider the fact that, Israelis have been killing thousands, tens, hundreds of thousands of Palestinians since 1947, a few dead Israelis in this section of the conflict, that, like, it's war, it happens. Like, I'm sorry, but
people seem to forget the music festival was taking place not too far from the world's largest concentration camp.
Yeah. And but that's the thing. Then, people want to go screaming about, they want to go screaming about, communist states and stuff like that, and, oh, the gulags, oh, the prison camps, and it's just kind of like, it's just kind of like, okay, let's talk about the fucking, concentration camps that Israel has set up for Palestinian people. What about the, if we want to talk about concentration camps, how about the fact that, Japanese people during World War II, and B, all the freaking, kids put in cages, that, at the U.S. Mexico border. It's like, but no, they don't want to fucking have that conversation.
No, they don't want to talk about that because, that's going to shoot down their argument. They want to feel like, they have a case. They don't want to hear that mess.
Mm-hmm.
They want to hear saying, I learned all this shit about North Korea. Now we got North Korea right here.
Let's be real. The reason why they're so such fixated on dead Israelis because they let's be honest, it's racism played into the full. They look white, and what to Western cultures, overwhelmingly, brown kids don't matter.
Yeah. And
no lives but white lives.
Yeah, and apparently Chris Barker's friend got called a neo-Nazi because he used a term snowflake by the same people calling him an idiot. And I think that's funny because it's just like, it's like a lot of people, yeah, they don't like that term because, yeah, it's, it has, in America's sense, it has been used by conservatives against, the more liberal section of fascism to, but it's like, the thing is that, you know, people have such an America, especially largely in America, but the West over, they have such a you know, they have such a this centric viewpoint, you know, whether it's American centrism or, you know, British centric sort of, you know, sense of idealism, doesn't really matter. Everybody is very much, you know, only thinks so far outside, you know, only thinks within like the confines of their own country. They don't think outside, outside, that there's a bigger world than just America, Britain. And so, you know, when people, so it's like using the term snowflake just because, you know, it's like, oh, well, you know, you said this, so I'm going to, you know, it's like you're a snowflake for not, I don't know where I'm exactly going with this, but basically people take such an offense with it because they equate that with, you know, essentially Trumpism. And it's like no, it's just a term to describe somebody that, you know, gets fucking butt hurt because you don't happen to agree with their line of thinking. So
I keep quoting this character from Star Trek. Every accusation is a confession.
yeah. Yeah.
So true.
But yeah. I also, also people forgetting the assassination of Qasem Soleimani is connected to all of this. Yeah.
Nope, that don't count. That don't count.
We need a socialist government because I'm sorry to say this, if capitalism is still around, then we'll never see progress until something happens or anything, you know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
American cultural liberalism, cultural conservatism are both idealist systems. They are virtually yelling and reject in principle materialism. Whether and that's kind of where that whole term, you know, socially liberal and fiscally conservative also kind of comes out of too. It's just that whole, you know, it's just the whole, like, it's like, yeah, sure, we believe in equal rights, but also fuck the poor, you know, that is essentially America in a nutshell. And
honestly, they're just conservatives. They're just afraid of the label conservative. So
I mean, I prefer to just label them all as fascists anyway, because the whole term of liberal and conservative is it's all kind of nominal. They're all fascists. It's just if there's any sort of, you know, two differences within that, it's just there's your social fascists that are, again, quite quiet about their fascism, and then there's just, you know, the outright, you know, and then there's just outright, you know, right wing fascists that, you know, don't have any problem with being forthcoming with their bigotry.
it's the equivalent of the sheep and the wolf.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so at the end of the day, it's like there's no liberal and conservative. It's all fascism. It's just, you know, you have the moderate wing of fascism, and you have, you know, and you have the, you know, the right wing. There's no other way of really putting it. If it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's a duck. Or liberals really lukewarm conservatives.
You know, there's one thing that these people will never understand. Those who claim to be liberal, those who claim to be conservative. Politics is so much more complicated than red and blue.
Yeah.
And okay, and this is related to Palestine. This is not off topic because people put every fucking Palestinian, all of them, in a monolith when not all the there's multiple parties in Palestine. It isn't just like Hamas. There's plenty of parties that a lot of them don't really like each other that much or don't really agree, but they all support Hamas. Why? Because Hamas is the only freaking thing that actually is willing to do something. When you're
Yeah.
back into a corner, what the fuck are you gonna do? It's either you fight or you die.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I've had to tell people is that, it's just like they really only have in Palestine, they have two choices. They can either flee or they can fight because the only other option is death. And, so it's that's why. And another thing people don't really seem to understand, and of course this just goes with I think the West's general ignorance about those about the impoverished. A lot of Palestinians, they can't afford to just flee their homes. Even if they wanted to, they don't have the ability, the resources to just flee their homes, and move to like even just to cross over to like neighboring Jordan or to go to Saudi Arabia or Lebanon or something like that. They don't have those abilities, much less to escape to other countries outside of it. So it's their only choice then after that is to take up a gun and start fighting back to protect themselves. And quite frankly, that I've made this comparison on my own channel about how it's like how the spread of transphobia in the Western world, but I'll use the United States as an example because I live here. It's one of those things where the whole ideal of trans liberation that I try to pander to other trans people is the fact that if and when the situation in America gets to that implosion point where they're just essentially, just outright, just discriminating against, minorities, specifically like gender minorities, then then it's one of those things that when pushed into that corner, what are you going to do? Your fight or flight senses are going to kick in. And people always want to talk about, oh, well, I'll flee to Canada. Well, then you better have the resources to do so, because when put in that position, if you don't have the resources to flee, your only other source of survival is to fight. And that's what I tell people. I choose to fight because I know realistically my resources to just up and move to Canada, even if it's literally only a few hours away from me, it still is going to, that's still resources. That's still, whether it's monetary, whether it's time, it doesn't matter. That's going to, the ability to flee for a lot of people is just not an option. And so their only choice is to fight. And a lot of people in a lot of these Western, first world countries like the US and the UK, these people don't understand that because they don't understand the very, nature of being in poverty. And that's where that whole, whole thing about privilege, whether it's white privilege, cis privilege, whether it's ruling class privilege, it doesn't matter. It's still, it's the very thing of not understanding, the situation that people are put in, and they won't understand that situation until they're actually in it.
Well, it's just Israelis are portrayed as the victims, yet most of these Israelis can leave Israel at any time.
Right. They can freely come and go as they please. They don't have to go through checkpoints. And a lot of them, actually have a fair degree of monetary resources that they can, just go to another country or something like that. But Palestinians don't. when in a population that, you know, is largely younger people, teenagers, and a population that is essentially been driven into, you know, forced poverty. Yeah, they don't have that same ability. Plus, that doesn't even take into consideration the checkpoints that they've, you know, that during peacetime that they're required to go through. And then when war does break out, they're essentially trapped. And that's why so that's why we say they live in an open air prison. So yeah, they don't have the same privileges that Israelis have. And that's the thing that people don't understand, because, or that they choose not to understand, because to put yourself, you know, to be able to even grasp that concept, you have to basically recognize and think beyond your privileged position. That's something that most people, you know, Israelis, Americans, British people, it's not something that they're willing to go beyond. So,
well, what makes it even more disgusting is there's Israelis that are against what they're doing, who are protesting in support of Palestinians. Yet we're going to call them anti-Semitic.
yeah, well, I mean, let's look at what's going on with Dr. Weisfeld and all that shit. Him simply writing "Free Palestine" on a freaking, you know, pamphlet is getting, you know, is what's got him in trouble right now, because the fucking, you know, Zionists in Canada, you know, they're, you know, trying to, you know, pin him as being literally is what they've been trying to say, is that he's anti-Semitic, even though he is literally, you know, the descendant of Holocaust survivors. But the difference is that people like Dr. Weisfeld actually, you know, they actually understand that, yeah, I might be Jewish, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to keep playing the victim card to justify the genocide of other people. So, and, you know, because of that,
been to Palestine too, actually.
yeah, and that's the other thing. He's been to Palestine. He understands what these people have gone through, you know, and, you know, and that's why he's sympathetic to their cause. And, you know, but it shouldn't even be, you know, you don't even have to go to Palestine to be sympathetic to the cause. You just simply need to know that, hey, whenever a country is doing wrong to, you know, an ethnic minority, an oppressed minority, and, you know, treating them not even as second class citizens, they essentially treat the Palestinians, you know, like, you know, pigs to the slaughter, pretty much. And so, yeah, it's like when any country, any society really is doing that, it's okay to be like, hey, that's wrong. And that shouldn't be a controversial issue. But, you know, yeah. So, I don't know. I just find it really baffling that, you know, people can be just so up their own ass that they're not willing to, you know, that they're not willing to see the bigger picture. And, you know, the whole thing with Dr. Weisfeld is just so absolutely ridiculous and so petty, really, because they're, you know, and I'm not going to get too much into it because it's getting a little bit off, you know, off the main subject. But I worry for him because, you know, he's attained quite a few victories recently, but now this conflict is hitting right at the worst time for him, when, you know, he's still, you know, facing, you know, hate crime charges.
It's just, everyone that have supported Palestine have been slandered. They've been arrested, beaten violently by the police. Their careers ruined.
Yeah.
It's like yet yet Israelis are apparently the victims. Freedom of speech means nothing.
I mean, the way that I look at it, and I've used this term before, even long before I came back to YouTube and had transitioned and everything. But like I was saying this years ago in my old videos, I stated that when it comes down to Israel, it's like the bully who's bullying the weak, the weaker kid, or whatever you want to call it. The bully beating up on somebody, and then finally the person that's being bullied stands up and fucking just takes a right good crack, at the bullies, and hits the bully in the nose. The bully starts crying, screaming victim. And in this case, it would be the world being, the Western world largely being the school, who then ends up suspending the bully, or not the bully, but suspends the kid that's being bullied, and doing absolutely nothing about the bully themselves. That is the perfect example that one can give. So when you kind of think about kids who are getting bullied in school, and the school's not, I mean, some of them are getting a little bit better now, but overarching, a lot of schools will still not do a damn thing about bullying. And are we really surprised when we look at that comparison and be like, and we see what's going on with Israel and Palestine? No, of course not. I'm not surprised in the slightest, because that is a typical, first world mentality to have. It's like, the bully is clearly in the wrong, but yet as soon as somebody stands up against that bully, it's them that are getting punished, not the bully.
Yeah, that is very true.
Just, yeah.
It's just the bullying tactics, like the supporters of Israel have been using against people for showing solidarity. It's just really disgusting. It doesn't surprise me, but
Yeah.
I shouldn't be shocked as how disgusting people are, but I am, considering I thought we were all decent human beings, that that supporting genocide is not something any of us want to support. Think it's okay, that's bad. Yet saying genocide's bad is apparently controversial.
See, that's the one thing I will definitely have to be kind of in disagreement. I've honestly never really thought we've been decent human beings, and honestly, the more that of an online presence that I garner, and the more that I'm just on here, the less and less like hope for humanity I have, because humanity keeps proving me right time and time again. And I'm just, and so then people kind of wonder why, I've always kind of been this kind of, I'm kind of always got this brooding goth personality, I kind of at this point have just accepted. It's like why I'm got kind of a very pessimistic and nihilistic view on the world. My response to them is, I have my reasons, and that reason is that I'm just continuously proven right about humanity time and time again. And but I'm still here. I'm still trying. I'm still trying to do analysis. I'm still trying to be be an educator to people, and I'm trying to and I try to just be the best person that I can be. because at the end of the day, that's really all I can control, and that's the only thing, that I can put my hope in is myself. And it's the day that I become a really shitty human being like the rest of the world, that I will truly have no hope left.
Honestly, hope. I have to have hope, because if there is no hope, then what's the point in living?
Yeah, and that's why I say it's like, if the only hope you've got is within yourself and being the best person that you can be, then by all means, good. That at least that's something that you can hold. At least that's some hope that you can hold on to. And for me, yeah, it's like I have hope in myself. I mean, yeah, there are days when I kind of feel like an absolute piece of shit, but that's largely just my chronic depression and just other mental health issues. So,
Well, the reason I'm a communist is because of hope, and that's a cliche thing for me to say. And to me, without hope, then there's no point of even giving a shit about having a socialist world.
yeah,
That's just how I look at it, because hope to me is what drives communists in the first place.
yeah,
Of course, we have to be a realist too, so we can't. There's the difference between I think being a nihilist and being a realist are not the same thing.
yeah.
I think
And see, that's kind of that's kind of the thing, is that I recognize there is a difference, and that's why, even though I have a very negative outlook on society and everything like that, I still am a realist in the fact that, well, it could always be worse, and and you're fighting to prevent the worst part of society in coming out. And so, yeah, and I have to and then I put my faith in that. And
when it comes to American society, I have no hope in Americans. But when it
I
comes,
don't either.
but
Or
when it comes,
Canadians.
but when it comes to the masses of the world, they do give me hope. Like seeing so much solidarity for the Palestinian people does give me hope. That's like, most of the world does not support Israel. Hell, even in America, you have a lot of Americans that don't support Israel. It's just a lot of Americans are just too scared of supporting Israel because of this McCarthyism that's been going on. This neo McCarthy like atmosphere that's been in this country since Donald Trump got elected, I would argue, is where neo McCarthyism.
I like how the comments here, like, we humans can be pretty disgusting. Humans are basically bad, but then, yeah, like, yeah, I do kind of agree that humans, as as kind of in general, can be kind of shitty people. But it's like you said, Dark. It's kind of like the fact that there has been so much support coming out from Israel, or not Israel, but Palestine, is gives me at least some hope that there are good people out there. Yes, there are still people that support Israel, but I think, to be quite honest, that support is dwindling and minds are changing by the day, because people are seeing what like, they're starting to see why the Palestinians are doing what they're doing. And and I think really it's kind of up to people like us to keep educating people on the history and just the situation that has unfolded over the last like 75 years, to really get into these people's minds that, yeah, no, that's pretty fucked up, and yeah, I can understand why they're fighting back. I actually just had a friend recently. She's been kind of going through her come to Mark's moment, because she's been, for the longest time, she's like one of my closest and longest friends from back home. She used to be very ardently one of those young Democrats that basically, she went out and what do you call it? Campaigned for our local U.S. representative at the time. Like she was or canvassing, that's what it's called. She was canvassing for that campaign, and she really actually still believed in the ideals of the American democracy. But slowly over the years, she's kind of seen what's gone on. She saw the election of Trump, and then she's had some hope for Biden, but then of course, she's seen, how Biden's been as far as his policies of immigration, his treatment towards, people of color, the First Nations people, and even, towards the LGBT community and everything like that. And she's just like, you're not doing enough. You are basically still doing the same thing Trump is doing, just not on, just in some aspects, not on that same level. And so she finally, she finally had her moment where she came to me, sent a message to me the other day, and was, she was just kind of like, it's like, I stand with Palestine. What Israel is doing is absolutely fucked. And so she she was also one of those people that for years kind of sat on the fence, but no, she fell onto the Palestinian side after everything that's gone on, and just has started to basically just say, yeah, fuck America. This democracy is not real. And, and so, she's slowly starting to mold into kind of starting to slowly mold towards, towards the left, the left side of politics. And I'm just like, good. It's like, if I can, because I've been giving her my opinions and my analysis for years, because obviously we've always had a lot of conversations about it. And I think, and it's kind of, in a way, it makes me have a lot of respect and hope for her and for humanity to a small degree, because I to basically see that transition of where she was 10, 15 years ago to where she is now, to being like, wow, yeah, this is all fucked, and there's no real democracy in America. To be able to see her finally realizing all that, and realizing that there is an alternative, and that all this time that everything I've been telling her is right, and that I think it's at this point I actually like that. I actually have a lot more respect for her now, because she's starting to realize that that there's an alternative, and maybe that is the path of history that that she needs to be on.
I actually would argue that Israel is its own worst enemies, because they're advertising proudly what they're doing to Gaza on fucking social media.
Yeah.
Acting like they're so delusional, they don't understand how the average person in the world thinks. And let's be honest here, unless you're some fringe right-wing American, like you're if you were to tell someone how we should kill these people and kill them all, they're going to look at you like you're crazy, and they're going to tell you to get the fuck away from me.
Yeah.
I bring this up because I don't know have any of you seen the Abby Martin Empire Files episode when she interviewed Israelis, when they were talking about when they were talking about killing Arabs, and they were talking about it as if they were talking about the weather.
Yeah, no, I haven't, but
well, I'm just saying they're their own worst enemies. The massive amount of people saw that episode, even though it was years after the fact. People have seen it, and not to mention recently with them showing them bombing Gaza. It's like, okay, maybe this is the optimist in me. Most people don't want to fucking hear about fucking bombing other human beings and being people gleefully proud of it. I mean, Israel, they living on a different planet.
Right.
American officials, okay, let's be honest, they are evil as fuck, but they know better than to advertise what they're doing on a platform of billions of people.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I was trying to find it because I've actually retweeted quite a few things where I've criticized Israel on social media, and I was just trying to see if I could find some of those. But yeah, it's wild.
No, there was like I watched a video of people's reaction. People in the comment section of that person's video were like shocked. It's like, this is sick. People are an entire society of people talking about killing other human beings like they're talking about the weather. What kind of sick society is this?
Oh yeah, surprisingly for Twitter, I've actually seen so many people that have been in the Israeli government's or IDF's, same shit really, in their comments and being just kind of like, dude, this is fucked up. Like, this is outrageous. And so, yeah, it's been kind of nice to see them get absolutely ratioed, because, yeah, because like you said, they're out here essentially advertising, about it. They're boasting about it. They're proud of it. And it's that same monstrous and psychopathic, mentality that the Nazis had. Like, I guarantee you, if you were to go back in time and give Nazis Twitter back in World War II, they would be saying the exact same shit that Israel is saying. They would be doing the exact same thing that Israel is doing. They would be advertising, well, they essentially did. They were they had, propaganda posters advertising the killing of Jewish people. And that is exactly what is going on in the case with Israel and Palestine. Israel is they're milking this, for, I hate to use this term, but they're milking it for the attention, for the likes, because, but they're finding, that, hey, today's modern society, especially social media, kind of thinks that's really a shitty thing to do. And so, yeah, I like how I like to see the fact that there's a lot more people that are ratioing Israel than people that are, sitting there defending it. And there still are, but regardless,
Well, they're looking like they're a smaller and smaller like percentage of the people because even though human beings can be very disgusting, there is a limit how most people what people can see, and people don't want to hear about or see children being bombed or seeing video after video after video of people taking dead children's bodies out of rubble. There's
yeah,
like, I forgot which person who it was. I don't know if it was, I think Hassan, or forgot who it was. They broke down because like I think on stream.
no, I think you're thinking of Keffels.
Yeah.
That was what I was saying about the crocodile tears for, yeah, because this is the same person that just days prior was kind of flip-flopping between being pro-Israel and just kind of on the fence, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm pro-Palestinian, but I've always been pro-Palestinian. Like, no, you're not. No, you haven't. Like, this person, for people that are probably in the comments and are probably very aware, I've been having a very pretty much a year-long pissing match with this person, who's also a fellow trans person, who's just a toxic human being. And she basically has Yeah, she's basically well, there's no other way to slice it. She's a grifter, and she always has been, and that's why her views flip flop all the time, because she goes from being, oh, what Palestine is doing is wrong, to being, oh, the Palestinians have a right, it's like, think of, essentially, she didn't go say anything necessarily about Palestinians having a right to defend themselves. I believe the exact words that she was using was something to the degree of, think of the think of the Palestinian children and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, that's great and all, but you're kind of forgetting the main fact of why we need to think of those children or those teenagers or those young adults or what's left of the elderly in Palestine. It's one of those things that, yes, they have a right to defend themselves. That's so outright say that. Don't just try to play both sides of the fences because you're worried about pissing people off. And yeah, she's a constant flip flop. This is also the same person that claimed a few months ago that she's a Marxist, but then goes about a few weeks later and makes a video about how Marxism Leninism is dangerous. Like, oh, and then starts hanging out with like the likes of Vosh and Destiny. So oh, and Brianna Wu. So yeah, it's just it's that type of crap. And yeah, let's see. What do you think about influencers who think they're supporting Palestine but they're not doing? Well, that's exactly the thing. This person that I'm referring to, Clara Sorrenti, aka Keffels, it's like that she's doing it because it's all part of her grift. The reason why she's not taking like a hardline pro-Palestinian stance, and why she's still pretty much on the fence, is because she's trying to is that the classic grifter mentality. She's trying to play both sides. So, it's
one of the most ridiculous pieces of propaganda, and it's too. We all have heard of it, the beheading of babies. It's like, how do people believe this such stupid horse shit?
Yeah.
When it's like, okay, where's the evidence? Where's the photos?
Oh, well, you see, their evidence, though, has been them posting pictures of like dead children, but those dead children are Palestinian instead of Israeli. So, it's like, good job with your propaganda campaign there. You're just, showing your own war crimes. And then also there was a picture on there the other day. I think it was actually yesterday that I retweeted it. And it was this picture of what looked to be blood, but then like, a workbook with like some kids like coloring book or whatever. And they were trying to say, that this was some like young Israeli child that was, killed while coloring or painting or whatever. And people were pointing out, it's like, then why is there no blood at all on the coloring book that's very obviously lying in a pool, what's assumedly a pool of blood? But first of all, the blood looks just like some sort of red paint. It's not like that dark color of blood that you'd still expect that if it's still wet that you're taking a picture of. You'd think that it would still be, dark. No, it looked more like red paint, and then there's no blood at all on or in the coloring book. It looks actually like this was just it was just basically a staged photo, which it was. It was a very obviously staged photo. And they're trying to use that as a propaganda thing of, oh, look what these horrible people have done to the Israeli, to an Israeli child. And it's like you're not like, It's like, try harder.
I'm sorry, but the Israelis are fucking dumb.
Yeah.
It's like,
the people that eat it up are just absolutely stupid.
it's like the beheading of babies is the baby removing the babies from their incubator propaganda. It's the same fucking shit.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, it was the babies in incubators was basically a piece of propaganda that was used in the first Gulf War in the 1990s.
That was an Iraq version of Yonke Park. That's exactly what babies think. Oh, just the same thing as behind Iraqi babies being thrown out of the incubators.
Of course, let's be honest here. The people that hear this propaganda, they listen to it because they want to believe it. They want to believe that Arabs.
They don't need the evidence. You show them the evidence, they're going to say, okay, that might be wrong, but they're still bad. That's
well,
what we do.
well, they don't. They think that Arabs are savages. That's what they think they are. It's racism, plain and simple.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's based in white supremacist ideals. It's based in and Islamophobia, it's just plain and simple. That's what it is.
And the thing that pisses me off the most is both siding of the conflict. It's like, no, there isn't just two sides. It's one side. One side is freaking is completely in the wrong, and one is in the right, and that is fucking Palestine's in the right, Israel's in the wrong, and I think one of the things that pisses me off the most is people are basically saying, "Oh, we have no this fight has nothing to do with us." It's like, no, I'm sorry, but if you are concerned about the police, I'm actually speaking for those who actually are worried about the police and worried about the increased militarization for the police. You cannot ignore what's going on in Palestine. You cannot. What the Israelis do in Palestine, the cops do here. The IDF literally trains the police, and by the way, you basically ignoring what's going on in Palestine is spitting in the faces of those who actually helped protesters in 2020.
Yeah.
It's like, without the Palestinian resistance to tell, and I'm saying this for the new black media, I'm addressing them specifically. Without the Palestinian resistance, how many of your people would have been killed in the protest if it weren't for them to give pointers on how to avoid certain things that the police do, or avoid what tactics they're using, because they use the exact same tactics. This is willful ignorance, and you're basically not informing your own people about what the Israelis do to the Palestinians that the police are doing to you. It's like, it's negligence. Shame on you. I know I have white privilege. I don't think they're watching this, but if you are, I don't care. I have white privilege. I owe up to it, but you have a duty to your people to inform them about the IDF, because what the IDF does in Israel, they do here. You have people in the IDF in the police force.
Yeah, especially these people that, claim to be leftists, and the term leftist at this point is kind of meaningless on social media because, and I could get into that, but I'm not. But basically, if you actually believe in the cause for anti-fascism, if you truly believe in land back, if you truly believe in, human life, dignity, human rights, then, that's why, basically, that's where I'll bring in a piece that I kind of put on my community tab as part of my little diatribe. And this is directly from Mao's on liberalism. People who are liberals look upon the principles of Marxism as abstract dogma. They approve of Marxism, but are not prepared to practice it, or to practice it in full. They are not prepared to replace their liberalism by Marxism. These people have their Marxism, but they have their liberalism as well. They talk Marxism, but practice liberalism. They apply Marxism to others, but liberalism to themselves. They keep both kinds of goods in stock and find a use for each. This is how the minds of certain people work. And it's important to remember that when looking upon the conflict going on in Palestine. You can't just sit idly by and not take a side and try to, or you can't just sit idly by and not take a side. You either believe in land back and human rights and dignity and doing the right thing, or you don't. You support the liberalization of or the liberation of a fucking oppressed people, or you don't. That is just the cut and dry of it. As Dark said, shame on you. If you're going to sit idly by, then you're frankly a coward, and you are taking the liberal position. And at that point, especially if you call yourself any form of a leftist, a communist, then you need to be forthcoming with it. You need to remember Mao's combat liberalism, and you need to support Palestine. Stop sitting on the sidelines, waiting to get in the game. Get in the fucking game. It's because what's going on over there is literally life or death. So
Malcolm X supported the Palestinian struggle when it wasn't even popular to do so. The original Black Panthers supported the Palestinian struggle when it wasn't popular to do so. And these are your heroes, and I don't claim them as my heroes because I have white privilege. I'm white. For those in the new black media, you should really look up what your heroes think of Palestine, because you dishonor them by not showing some support to them.
The friend that I've mentioned that's had her, come to Mark's moment, she's read the works of Huey Newton. She's read the works of Malcolm X. She is half African American. She's she's also through her grandfather is also Native American. So she understands both the struggle as a person of color and as a Native woman, and she's also half Latina. So she has kind of all of those. She essentially knows what it's like to be in the shoes of the oppressed peoples of those different groups. Not only the fact that she is also a member of the LGBT community, she is also a woman, which she understands where Malcolm X comes from. She understands where Huey Newton and Bobby Seale and and the original Black Panthers stood for. So that's why people that to the new black media, you really should go back and actually read the works of these heroes that you supposedly idolize, that you supposedly that you invoke whenever we're talking about whenever there's like a Black Lives Matter protest and stuff like that. At this point, your Palestinian brothers and sisters need your support, and you need to remember that your heroes, they would be supporting the Palestinian people. They were supporting the Palestinian people. So don't sit on the sidelines or try to pander to, the mainstream media, actually take a stand and be like, no, what's going on in, against the Palestinians is wrong.
Actually, they don't pander to the mainstream media. That's not the point I'm trying to make.
Oh, okay.
The new black media, they're against the Democrats and Republicans. The point I'm trying to make is that I support reparations. I 100% support reparations, but that's the extent of their politics.
Yeah.
It doesn't extend beyond that. And how are you going to get reparations for black Americans when you're not willing to support reparations for every other group? Palestinians deserve reparations. Their land has been literally stolen from them. Like,
yeah.
Enough with this oppression Olympics. I know I have no right to say this because I have white privilege. I don't have a right to say this. And I think I'll let the black community do this more because I don't think I should, but I feel like this has to be talked about because Palestine is important to talk about. And it disturbs me that the new black media does not talk about it because this is you hate the police, and rightfully so. The IDF is teaching the police here to kill your people,
and that's why I say it's like they need to come out and take a stand, and they need to, and it's because their Palestinian brothers and sisters need them.
Yeah, and not to mention they're Christian, Muslim, and Jews.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't have any more to say about the new black media because I feel like if I say too much, it's not my place as a white person to really talk about it. I feel like I'll leave it to black people and who are comrades to do the rest of the criticism because I feel like someone who doesn't have a personal experience in this struggle, I feel like it's not really within my experience to really talk about it in depth. I just had to give my thoughts off my chest because I've been seeing apathy from the new black media, and it just disturbs me.
Yeah. It's just
I mean, I'm not saying you have to focus on Palestine 24/7. No, I'm just saying at least educate people on the IDF. At least do that.
Yeah.
But then again, it's American centric, so I guess they're a Yankee to the end. At least we have people like Black Redgar. I mean, there's other black people on social media that are supporting Palestine, so they're not the overwhelmingly amount. There's more black people that support Palestine than those who are apathetic towards Palestine. And I know Pan-Africanism. There's multiple factions within them. You have the capitalist faction, and then you have the socialist faction. So I understand that to a degree. It's not something you can't put people who are Pan-Africanists on a monolith because it's not. Jesus, I think we've basically got the points that we want to cross for the most part across. What final thoughts do you want to say before we end the stream?
Honestly, nothing more that I could really add that I haven't already said here or on my channel. So
at least this wasn't a disaster like my Fantifa video on Cop City, which was also talk about Palestine. That was a technological nightmare.
But yeah, essentially if you if you believe in the ideals of what the original Black Panthers, what Malcolm X stood for, if you believe in land back, then you need to recognize that the same oppression that's been going on against those peoples is the same type of oppression that is going on against the Palestinians. So So yeah, that's the only real thing I'd like to circle back on and say solidarity to Palestine. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.